So as opposed to our normal deep tech webinar, in this webinar, we want to tell you about us. Really, we want to tell you about Oracle Cloud Infrastructure and us, and combined hosting services, how we can help you if you're interested in hosting your Oracle applications in the cloud. So agenda today is why APEX as a platform as a service, and what is platform as a service. Just a quick second on that. The typical customers we help, what and why is OCI, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Gen 2. We'll talk about the OCI Database Options. John will talk about that. The OCI Learning Curve. So how can you get database, Oracle database in OCI? And what does it take to learn Oracle Cloud Infrastructure? He'll also talk about a typical APEX environment, a typical APEX stack that we use as a model to set up many of our environments. We also want to talk about SkillBuilders' dedicated OCI package. You'll see some of the default features that come with that package and some of the common upgrades. We'll talk about a shared security model. Some customers are learning Oracle Cloud Infrastructure themselves and building their own environments. We fully embrace that. We'd like to help you do that. Infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. First of all, what is as a service? That's some third party providing you something so you don't have to worry about it. In this case, Oracle provides the infrastructure through OCI, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So that's IaaS. SkillBuilders can provide you with the platform. That's the Oracle database and APEX combined stack. That stack of software and servers which make APEX work. So we stand that up for you, and that's your platform as a service. You, the customer, are writing APEX applications. So you provide the final piece, the software as a service. Later on, we'll talk a little bit about the shared security model that this mandates. We all have a role to play in security, and we'll talk about the role that we play here at SkillBuilders. Why consider Oracle APEX platform as a solution? Well, simply put, that's so that you, the customer, can concentrate on application design and development. So you're not worried about infrastructure issues. You're not worried about hardware upgrades. You're not worried about patching. We'll handle all that for you. We'll handle the infrastructure, the hardware that Oracle provides through OCI, the network, of course, the operating systems, the firewalls, and the platform, all of the software that makes APEX work. Tomcat, ORDS, Apache, plus the database and APEX, and of course, an operating system. So we maintain this platform. Oracle maintains the infrastructure. We maintain the platform itself. And we provide 24/7 support, as you'll see. It is really designed so that you concentrate on application design and development. A typical customer is a small or mid-sized business or a startup, perhaps even a larger company with a departmental database where there is limited access to a DBA or perhaps no DBA, because we're providing that function for you. And anywhere where there's limited budget. Soon you'll see some of the pricing, and I think you'll be surprised by the cost of the packages, including an SC2 license. So I think these things combined, the license itself and the support that we provide prove itself very worthy. Let's turn to what is Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Well, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure is Oracle's cloud offering. You might compare it to AWS. We're going to concentrate on compute, storage, database, and networking. Compute is the virtual machines. Storage is disk storage or solid-state disk storage. Of course, the database and networking. There are lots of additional services that Oracle offers. For example, email and AI and container support. These things you can look at, decide if they are for you. But we're going to concentrate on providing you a pre-configured compute, storage, database, and networking environment with the APEX PaaS. There are 40 regions in 22 different countries as of this week. This number is growing. So you can choose a region that's near you if you go with a dedicated package, and we'll talk more about that in a little while. So OCI is SkillBuilders' default platform in 2023. We did many years of AWS hosting, and we still do it. It's a great environment. It's a great cloud. But I think you're just about to see why OCI is our new default platform. Cost effectiveness being number one. The cost using OCI, including all your hardware and labor, the SE2 license included, can be about 1/2 the cost of AWS in the license. Performance. With OCI, you get a real CPU. It's called an OCPU, and it eliminates over-provisioning problems. So some of the other clouds, you might get a virtual CPU, and virtual CPU has overhead associated with it. You could, in a noisy neighbor problem, somebody taking up a lot of resources, actually have to wait for a vCPU, and that does not occur with the OCPU. In an OCPU, it's one core equals 2 threads. So one OCPU is equal to 2 vCPUs. Something to keep in mind as we look at some of the details on the packages. The other thing about OCI is it's a supported platform for the database in APEX. And if you've ever had to open an Oracle support ticket, you know it can be very important, very critical to get your problem solved, your questions answered. And if you're not on a supported platform, you could run into problems. The other thing that Oracle is doing is they're delaying major database updates for on-prem and releasing them first in the cloud. If you need access to a new release of the database, you may have to wait if it's an on-premise, whereas with OCI, it's available first. We mentioned that OCI is cost-effective, so we put up a couple of examples here. So for on-premise, one CPU, very, very entry-level environment for SE2. The one-year cost of a one-year license with support is about $7,300. You got to add to that the cost of your hardware and the cost of your operating system and the people resources to manage that. If you put it on AWS EC2 with 2 vCPUs, 2 threads, the one-year license with support is again about $7,350, but you get your hardware with that and your operating system. Look at OCI. The cost is unbelievably less. 1 year, about $2,000. That includes your support and the virtual machine for one OCPU, 2 threads. Pretty amazing. Looking at a larger environment with 8 threads, the on-prem with 1 CPU, $7,350. AWS with 8 threads, we missed that first one, $14,700 plus the cost of the VM. 4 OCPUs give you the 8 threads. 1 year, only $76.76. If one of you guys can check the price on that first one for me and chat it in. I don't think it's $73.50. I think that's a typo or copy paste error. So cost of OCI is way less in many situations. You notice that so far we've really been focusing on SE2, 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 licensed SE2, and you know, we know that there are lots of hosting providers out there that offer very cost-effective hosting packages, but keep in mind that a lot of those offerings include XE, the Express Edition of Oracle Database, which provides no support, no patching and no support. So if you have a problem, you could end up being stuck. Why OCI? Well, because it's supported by Oracle. AWS is also a supported platform, as is Azure. Google Cloud, perhaps surprisingly, is not a supported environment. And you may have other third-party hosting services, some of them with fantastic prices, but where are they hosting? Are they using SE2? Are they using EE? Are you getting a licensed database? Are you getting a supported platform? Often the answer to that question is, in reality, no. So we're focusing on supporting production applications, mission-critical production applications supported by Oracle. I also mentioned that performance is an advantage of OCI. You get real hardware, and we just did a simple CRUD test, insert, update delete, read, test on a couple of our base environments on AWS and OCI. And again, this was nothing fancy, just a couple of our base environments that we provision. And the threads represent concurrent users. So 100 current users, 160 concurrent users, up to 240, et cetera. We stopped the test at there. And you can see that AWS gave us about a half a second response time for 100 concurrent users. Not bad in our very, very small 2 vCPU environment. When we got up to 180, 200, then we started getting 503s and other things like that. Now, that could certainly be due to connection pool configuration, shared pool configurations, and things like that. So we're not saying that this was the end of the ball game. It was just a basic quick test on a default environment. Check out the numbers in OCI. With 100, 160, 180, we were getting sub-second response time. Creeped over a second when we got up to 200 concurrent users. Now this is concurrent users, so perhaps thousands, if not tens of thousands, of authorized users, but users that are actually requesting something at the same exact time. This test was done with a product called JMeter. It's a fantastic way to do some stress testing. I'll pass this one over to John.
Okay, thank you, Dave. We are not going to become particularly technical in this session, so don't worry about that. But if there's anything you'd like to discuss that's technical, please throw in the questions and we'll do what we can. So OCI in general then, first off, I have to say that Oracle was actually late to market with OCI. There were quite a few other cloud providers who've been running for years before OCI came out. However, in a sense, that actually gave them a bit of an advantage because Oracle didn't invent anything. What Oracle did was copy everything that all the other companies like AWS that have been in the cloud for years have been doing. They took all the ideas that all the other cloud providers had, implemented them, and tried to do them better. Right. Well, did they do them better? Well, the OCI launch was in 2016. And quite frankly, it was a bit rough. And nowadays, that's known as Generation 1. Now, it works. There's no problem about that. But it was a bit rough around the edges, to put it mildly. A couple of years later, they produced Generation 2. And the Generation 2 update was a major update after those first couple of years of understanding what the issues would be. They came out with Generation 2. It smoothed over most of the rough bits of Generation 1, and it's also added huge amounts of functionality, particularly in the developer areas. We're not going to talk about the developer areas today, but just bear in mind there's a huge amount more in OCI than the basics which we're talking about now. What we're talking about now, really, no, before we do that, I would say because of the Generation 1, Generation 2 business, if you've tried OCI before or have heard of bad experiences, it may well be that you're overly influenced by the Generation 1 issues. So, for me, with my background in database administration and system administration, Generation 2 is all about brilliant database facilities. The way I look at it, your traditional DBA job simply won't exist in a few years' time, not when you go to OCI. So, what do you get with it? Well, there are two options for the Oracle database. I'm not talking about the NoSQL database or the MySQL database, they're all there as well, but for the Oracle database, there are two options. The option that will suit most small to medium users is called the DB system. The DB system is a virtual machine pre-configured with a database. To a database administrator, it looks very like an on-prem system, on-premises system, except that it is astronomically easier to administer. There's a huge amount of built-in automation for many tasks, like patching and upgrades and backups and restore and all that. There's a huge amount of automation built in, plus integration facilities, integration with other facilities, like, say, the storage facilities, like the objects. No, we won't get technical. There's built-in integration with many other facilities. And, of course, the cost is astonishing. I see on the slide, attend my course. Yes, the cost of that is astonishing too. You will be pleased. However, the second option for an Oracle database is the autonomous database. And Oracle Corporation is pushing autonomous in a very big way at the moment. The autonomous database takes the automation even further than the DB system. What you get with an autonomous database is in fact a pluggable container, a PDB or pluggable database. What you get is a pluggable database in a container database hosted on Exadata hardware. Now, again, those of you who are not database administrators may not appreciate the advantages of that. So what I will say is that when you're running on Exadata, you get extraordinary zero downtime capabilities. We're not talking about hardware failure. Yeah, that's zero time for hardware failure. That just doesn't happen. You get no downtime then. It's things like upgrades, moving to different machinery. The zero downtime capabilities of autonomous database are phenomenal because with Exadata, you're always talking about rack and data guard in the background. The administration is totally automated, of course. Now, at the bottom of the slide here, we've mentioned always free. The always free option of OCI is a good starting point for anyone. It's a set of resources that are, well, always free, and Oracle has guaranteed that they will always be free. You can use the always free environment for production systems. There are no limits on it whatsoever. We have one customer that we've been supporting for a couple of years using always free for production purposes. It's a charity organization, by the way. What you get with always free is, of course, limited capacity. It works, it's patched, it's updated and all that, so you get limited capacity. You can have only 2 compute instance virtual machines, for example. You can't have a DB system database, but you can have 2 autonomous databases with limited capacity. You get a load balancer, you get a load of networking stuff. And what you get with always free is enough to get a basic system going. Once you've got it going and built, then migrate perhaps to the larger scale environments. So to conclude, quite simply, and I won't say that one will be insane to use on-premises or third-party cloud rather than OCI, but I will definitely say that in 2023, you would need a very good reason not to use OCI. And one thing we have to mention is that reason will certainly not be financial. OCI Learning Curve. Yes, I want to talk about this as well. When I first started working with OCI, like many people, I found that it was horrifically complicated. Even more so in generation 2, it has more facilities. At first sight, it's horribly complicated. And the problem is that OCI is huge. It's designed to scale. And when Oracle say scale, they mean the size of Jupiter. And it's so huge that when you first look at it, if you're anything like me, you may find it almost impossible to work out where to start. I spent weeks getting a simple environment working. This was with generation 1. It's not quite so bad now, I guess. It took me weeks to get something working because there were so many components that have to work together, that have to be configured in the correct sequence. So how can you learn to use it? Well, Oracle University has a wide range of courses leading to various certifications. We've put just 4 of the tracks up here. There are about a dozen or more Oracle University tracks now. I did the OCI Architect track. I did all of those courses and exams because that fitted with what I do, which is database administration and system administration. But there are many more tracks available. There's a lot of education there provided by Oracle University. However, the Oracle University courses, while they're generally good, they aren't interactive. Typically, you watch the videos and then you hack your way through the labs in an always free environment. You're very much on your own. There are also an awful lot of courses, and just working out which ones you need. You've got to pick. You're not going to spend the next 6 months doing Oracle University courses. You have to work out which ones you really need to do, and you have to work out the order in which to do them. If any of you have tried to work that out, it isn't necessarily that straightforward. And that's where our course comes in. Our course, what we call our OCI workshop, is a really intensive course. It's based on 2 4-hour in-class sessions, usually with me leading the course, and you get a whole raft of labs that you do as homework. The idea is it gets you to a point where you can build a functioning, working environment. Quite simply, it's the course that I wish had existed. I wish this course had existed when I started out with OCI. Yeah, I took the pain of weeks of struggling, and that course could save you from having to do all of that, should you choose to run OCI yourself rather than going through our services. Dave.
Thanks, John. So we've talked about the benefits of Apex as a platform, as a service, our typical customers, a little bit about OCI and the OCI Learning Curve. Now let's talk about SkillBuilders and OCI. We make OCI very, very simple. If you want to take advantage of OCI to host an Apex application, if you do it with us, we can, for simple installations, for simple environments, we can have OCI in a day, up and running. You get your URLs, you get your logon credentials, and you're off and running. We can provide all of the things listed on this slide, of course, and for more complex situations, this is often required. So we'll go through requirements gathering. We'll look at your stats packs. We'll do some sizing for you. We'll help you choose your region if you don't know already. What authentication methods you're going to use. Maybe SAML will have incorporated. Provision your environment, assist with your migration, assist with domain name implementation, and go live planning and implementation. So we'll be there the whole way as a part of your team, making this go smoothly. As John mentioned a moment ago, we can also provide OCI training. John, would you take this slide?
This graphic is an example of a cloud environment for running Apex applications. There are many variations possible, but this is an example that has proved suitable for many clients. So to run through it very quickly, you get what what Oracle calls the virtual cloud network. And that's the heart of the security structures. Within the virtual cloud network, you or we create various resources dedicated to the client. There will be a database that we see called VM3 DB system at the bottom. We said DB system on this slide because a typical small customer is probably going to be using a DB system, but there's no reason why it shouldn't be an autonomous database instead. One way or another, we have to provision a database, DB system or autonomous. But that isn't enough to run Apex. Apex is PL SQL code in the database. But to get to the database, you need your web server, you need your web tier. In this graphic, we put on two web tiers, labeled VM1 and VM2. This is two compute instances, virtual machines. The web server virtual machine will typically be running an Apache reverse proxy and a Tomcat server to which you have deployed ORDs. There are, of course, many variations here. The Apache reverse proxy could be on one VM, the Tomcat and ORDs could be on another VM. There are any number of variations. And the security structures, which we haven't put on this slide, showing all the firewalls and the private and public and private networks come into it as well. But you're going to have at least one web server machine running an Apache reverse proxy and a Tomcat and ORDs deployed to Tomcat. Many variations there. Now, how do people get to it? That's when we start at the top left of the graphic. We've got your browser, your end user. And we said end user, that could be an end user, it could be a developer working in the Apex application builder. But your end user there will be communicating through to the web service. What's it got in between? Well, optionally, a web application firewall. The web application firewall is a very intelligent capability that can filter traffic based on any number of rules. It can detect attempts for SQL injection, for instance. You can block people from certain geographical areas. All sorts of stuff can go on in the web application firewall to add extraordinary security capabilities. An optional extra. After that, you hit a load balancer. The load balancer is really the entry point to the OCI environment. Think of it as a firewall router. If you have two web servers behind in the virtual cloud network, it will indeed do load balancing. And will spread the workload across the two web servers, give you scalability and fault tolerance. Even if you have only one web server, there will always be a load balancer. Think of it as a firewall router that conceals the internal topology from the internet, that protects your web servers from the outside world. The access will always be through a load balancer, even if there's only one web server behind. So the Apex users will come in possibly through a web application firewall, certainly through a load balancer, and then the calls will go through the Apache reverse proxy, through OCI Tomcat, and hit the database. That's good for the end users and for the developers using the application builder. But we need more. We need more. And that's where we come to the bottom half of the slide. Your developers, your database administrator, if you have one. Well, I'm a database administrator. I might be your database administrator. Your system administrator. Again, we might be your system administrator. The DBAs and system administrators, and probably developers as well, will need to be able to connect to the database over SQLnet. They'll need to be able to connect to the virtual machines using SSH. They'll need to be on the correct slide once we get back there. Thank you. Right. And for that, we put another internet-facing service. We have a hardened machine on the edge of the virtual cloud network. And that one will be acting as a bastion host, a hardened bastion host, internet-facing. And that will allow your DBAs, your developers, your system administrators to get into the environment over SSH or use SQLnet, and it will act as a jump server or can run a VPN. There are various options there. It allows people to connect directly to the database and the operating systems in a highly secure environment. Outbound calls, by the way, that's all possible. There are various ways for getting out of the database, no problem there. And just to finish off, what you see here, this is basically what each attendee of our OCI course builds in the workshops. Yeah, this is what you would end up building, and this is perfectly adequate for running large-scale, internet-facing production systems. Dave.
If you're going to consider us as your hosting provider for your APEX applications, you'll need to know a little bit about us and our technical support. Well, first off, we've been in business for over 25 years. We've been providing production hosting for over 10 years. Technical support is a fundamental, critical part of the puzzle. When you call us or open a support ticket, you'll talk to a knowledgeable, known technician. Could be John, could be myself, could be Greg, Lino, Gary Lawton. There's a bunch of us here ready to help. Perhaps you have issues just getting started, domain support or migrations, things like that. Of course, if you have an outage, that's a critical incident. Our phones ring automatically due to the probes that we have looking at your environments, making sure they are responding. These automatic probes, if we do not get a response, they start ringing phones. So we may know there's a problem before you do. DBA issue, perhaps you need some privileges. Perhaps you need a firewall port open. Even APEX development questions and application tuning. Now, the prior ones that I mentioned are all included as part of your hosting fees. The APEX development issues and questions may be an extra charge or application tuning. You have access to us. There are several experts here that can help you design or develop, perhaps even design reviews or code reviews before you go live, go into production. Our default service level agreement for critical incidents is 1 hour. It's a maximum 1 hour response time. Contact us through the phone, if it's business hours on the Eastern Seaboard, or through our online ticketing system. As you would expect, the online ticketing system supports priorities of low, medium, high, and urgent or critical. So David Glennon is a longtime customer with us. He's been hosting with us for more than 3 years. And we thought that this was a good testimonial to show you. He had several situations that we were able to help him with. And as you can see, he says we helped him quickly and efficiently. And the cost-benefit ratio was the best that they had found. Customer support has been outstanding. I can recommend them without reservation. So I want to share that with you. Our standard packages on Oracle Database Standard Edition 2. We have 2 premium packages, shared and dedicated. Shared currently based in the US East region. That is $650 per month. You get 24/7 monitoring and support and a shared database. Security is through database privileges. Now, there's a lot of customers here that great benefit out of this package, very cost effective, but some customers have specific needs, perhaps an FTP server or some other thing that requires that they have a dedicated environment, or perhaps just their security requirements are such that they have to have a dedicated database. So our dedicated package is available, of course, in any region that OCI supports, and that's $850 per month. Of course, you still get the 24 monitoring support, but here you get a dedicated virtual machine and database. Your environment is completely yours and yours alone. So for $650 a month, remember that you're getting not only the hosting environment, but you're getting us responding to your questions and issues. If it's critical, we may know it is critical before you do, and we're tending to that inside of an hour. Here's just some of the default features you get in the dedicated OCI package. You get the SE2 license. Of course, you get 3 databases. We build 3 databases for you, prod, dev, and a testing database. Again, we're embracing the mission critical production application, unlimited workspaces and schemas. Sure, create as many workspaces and schemas as you want. We configure the environments so they are backed up daily, along with exports and applications. Security, we incorporate firewalls, encryption at rest, encryption in transit, fully encrypted environment protected by firewalls. We do the patching for you. We patch the database, of course, and APEX, and the operating system. Now with the patching, we do this in conjunction with the customer. So you're not going to come in on a Monday morning and find you've gone from database 19C to 22. We coordinate with you to make sure that you're ready to go up in release of a database or APEX. We give you time. We'll patch on test first. We'll give you time to test your applications and make sure they work. So there's a lot of communication that goes back and forth between us and the customer with respect to patching and upgrades. No surprises. That's our goal. Of course, we have a 99% uptime SLA. SSL is, of course, supported. Apex Office Print is provided with dedicated package. We give 8 hours of migration support, a 30-day trial. We mentioned the monitoring and so much more. Talking about more, check out the amount of storage that you get, 700 plus gigabytes. Now that's spread across your fast recovery area, your user table space, and something else. Maybe John can help me, but you get roughly a third of that for your user data. The database server comes with 16 gig of memory. The web server comes with just 2 gigabyte, which is more than adequate for these environments. What else do you get? All hosting customers receive a seat in any scheduled APEX class every month. So you or one of your colleagues at your organization can come to APEX training every month, no charge. We want you to succeed as APEX developer. Some common upgrades, but these are just some of the things that are commonly asked for, perhaps outbound database links. Maybe you'd open a support ticket or give us a call. Hey, we need a database link to a remote system, or that might be part of the go live planning. Of course, ODBC connections to non-Oracle databases. A second web server for fault tolerance. John mentioned the web application firewall. Authentication support. SAML, LDAP, OpenID Connect for your social. All of these things are common additions to your environment. Some are completely free, some we have to charge for. So for example, if you wanted us to set up a high availability environment for your database, well, there's 2 ways to go there. Either we can stand up a second database in another region and ship logs over there. We can do that with SE. If you have tighter requirements than that, well, you can go up to Enterprise Edition of database and add some of the data guard facilities. The shared security model, we're going to take care of the environment, the OS and the database hardening. We mentioned encryption at rest and encryption in transit. That's all incorporated within any package you get from us, and maintaining best practices on all of these components. Oracle, they secure their facilities. They are compliant with many programs. Should mention HIPAA compliant. They are HIPAA compliant, so is SkillBuilders. You or the developers have a responsibility too. When you write your code, your APEX applications, you have to incorporate best practices to help prevent things like SQL injection. You may consider a tool like APEXSec, which is a tool for ensuring tight security in your APEX applications. You can find more about APEXSec on our website under the Products tab. Optionally, there's so many things that you can do. If you want to dive into OCI, great. If you want to provision your own environment, we embrace that. We can help you with consulting services, training, mentoring. We've done a Gen 1 to Gen 2 migration for a customer already. So if you're on Gen 1 of OCI and you need to go to Gen 2, please give us a call. Think about the problems we solve. One, you get a predictable and fixed cost. And I should say with a support contract like we are offering you and 24/7 monitoring, it's a reasonable cost. We're your DBA, your sysadmin, your network administrator, your cloud administrator, and we answer the phone and talk to you to help you solve your issues. You get a known person, one of our team. Plus, as I mentioned before, we will be happy to support your Apex development questions. So we eliminate database license hassles. Think about the costs, the management of your license, the Oracle audits, all that goes away when it comes to Oracle database. Oracle support tickets. We open the Oracle support ticket if necessary. We'll manage that ticket for you. So, in closing, think of SkillBuilders for your Apex hosting, your Oracle database administration consulting requirements, Oracle Apex consultants, training and mentoring.